Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our live event, the International Startup Call with Hello Tomorrow. My name's Simon Maechling. I'm based in Lyon, and we'll be broadcasting to you today the finals of our startup call around shaping the future of food together. And on the next slide, just to say a few words about myself, I work in Biocrop Science as an innovation manager. And my main role is to identify new technologies and put in place partnerships. And I'm very excited to be here with you today to see the 7 startup pitches we have in our finalists. We'll be choosing a winner live today. There'll be a Mentimeter in the middle, so have your iPhones or your portables or your mobile phones ready. There'll be some QR codes flashing up, and so you want to get that QR code and scan it as soon as you see it. And yeah, really looking forward to introducing the whole event. To kick things off and to set the scene a little bit, we've invited Raphael over, who's going to show us some of the big picture before coming back to me when I talk to you about the details of the challenge, and then the most exciting part for all of us when we get to see the pitches from all of our selected finalists in just a few minutes. So thank you for being here, and let's sit back and relax and have some fun. Over to you, Raphael.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks for the introduction, and very glad to be here today for this event and to have the opportunity to give you the context of this nice event today. Maybe I will introduce myself in 1 second. Raphael Dumain. I have the pleasure to lead innovation sourcing and partnership management in Bayer Crop Science, and it's a true pleasure to be here for the event organized by Hello Tomorrow with Bayer. And I will give you some context for this event to start and kick off these activities. First of all, on the slide, as you can see, nothing is coming as a surprise, but you are all aware that we are facing for some months and years now some significant changes in terms of food supply, in terms of energy supply, in terms of labor activities. And you know, COVID situation increased these changes and drastically put under pressure the world, not only for food, but also for energy, for human, for our families. So we are all aware of those mega trends, and the situation of COVID just accelerated those trends and pushed us to accelerate our innovation flow as well, and is pushing us to work towards a better energy supply, towards a better food supply, and identification of new way to produce food for the planet and the families. I mean, at the very short term, that's interesting to realize that, in fact, we have these mega trends pushing us to innovate, but at the very short term, we have also some disruption. We have also some fluctuation on the markets, and it's creating really short-term needs, but we need to think on the future, on the mid-term, on the long-term for innovation. It means thinking on new energy sources, thinking on how we produce food, and thinking how we can generate, why not, new protein and new food, new sources for calories for the planet. And of course, the digitalization will play a key role in this aspect. So this is the mega trends. What does it mean for agriculture specifically? You may be familiar with those numbers, but it's very important to keep in mind that, in fact, basically the mega trend is that we'll have to produce more with less. So it's very simple. And why do we have this statement? You can see on the top left of the slide that by 2050, we expect to have plus 2 billion people more on the planet. It means that by 2050 as well, we need to produce plus 50% food for this planet and for those people. But in parallel, we are facing challenges to supply this food. The experts are assessing that we lose almost 17% of yield for the main crops being today providing calories for the planet. This is wheat, this is rice, this is OSR, this is different cereals. So minus 70% due to climate changes, abiotic stresses, and pressure from the environment. In parallel, the surfaces of arable lands will decrease. We are an estimation around minus 20%. It means, in terms of numbers, just to give you an illustration, it means that we'll have less than 1/4 of a soccer field per capita to provide the food for each individual. It means 1,700 meters square So it's really small, really small. So we have to address those challenges. And the good news is that we have innovators. We are here in Bayer as well to innovate and to provide solutions for these challenges. So what does it mean for Bayer? What does it mean for the startup? What does it mean for the ecosystem in ag industry? And what does it mean for the farmer? I mean, I told you, basically, we need to grow more with less lands. It's clear. The scarcity for natural resources will increase. And in parallel, we have pressure from the society. The society wants to know how the food is produced. What is the origin of the supplies of the meat, where the fruits are coming from, okay? We have also the influence of NGOs. So the customer wants to be informed regarding this origin of the food and wants to have better quality, wants to have more food and also with more affordable prices. So this is from a society aspect, but for the farmer, what does it mean? For the farmer needs to drive towards efficiency in terms of economic model. I mean, they need to reinvent the way that they are producing food. They need to play better with the water, with nitrogen, with nutrients for the soil. They need to take care of the soil. You are all familiar that digitalization is changing drastically the way we are innovating in Bayer, but also for the entire ag industry. So the big data is disruptive, but is also providing huge opportunities for us to address those challenges. It also means that we have new entrants on the markets. We have new entrants in this innovation landscape, and this is good news. So we need to integrate better those new entrants. And last but not least, the demographics and the succession, I told you, will increase. So we need to take care of that. And the great news is that we have smart people here on the call, and with that, I would like really to hand over to Simon again to kick off this nice event and showing you that innovation is essential and that looking forward to hear all your nice speeches. Thank you.
Thanks, Raphael. And innovation is essential, and we can't do it on our own. And that's why we're here today to talk about how we want to shape the future of food together. On the next slide, you'll see that to remind ourselves of the startup challenge that we launched in the summer with Hello Tomorrow. And we still are looking for, and we're going to hopefully find some today, we're looking for innovative and disruptive solutions to three main consumer challenges that we framed. Number one, and these are not in order, these are just in order as they appear on the sheet, is the safeguarding of the planet and its inhabitants. Very important to us. Number two was good health, for example, through personalised and nutritious food systems. And the third big pillar we saw was transparency from seed to fridge, which is a really exciting topic. So we put this call out with Hello Tomorrow, as we did with last year as well, looking for startups that can help us enhance the way that consumers choose food, and helping promote a safe planet, helping promote good health, and helping promote transparency from the seed to fridge. And on the next slide, you'll see how we've landed here today through our timeline. We put the call out in June. Very excited to see over 70 very high quality applications again from Hello Tomorrow, from startups with Hello Tomorrow as our partner. We announced the finalists just a few short weeks ago. And in that time after the announcement, we've been reviewing the pitches and preparing for today, the final event, where we get to see the final pitches. We get to choose who we think will have the best opportunity to partner with in the future. And all of that on the live event broadcast from our Life Hub Lyon. And I think there's one more slide for me to talk about. And that's about the judges. So no pitch event is complete without an esteemed panel of judges selected for their expertise in their expert areas. So a big thanks from my side in alphabetical order to Adrian, Brian, Gerhard, Kelly, Martina, and of course Raphael for taking your time and helping us work through all of the applicants down to the finalists that we have today, and taking on the challenge of making the judging in 20 minutes after the last pitch event. So it's not just the startups that have a challenge of presenting their technologies in 5 minutes. with 5 minutes Q&A. The judges are also under a lot of pressure, so you'll see me probably in the back shot running around, dragging Raphael out of his judges' deliberation room here to announce to you later this afternoon live who we've chosen as a winner. So with that, I think I have one more slide as an in-between slide. So we're going to get this kicked off straight away. This is what we're here for. We're here to see the pitches. All of the startups have 5+5 format, so 5-minute pitch, 5-minute question and answers. All of the audience will have the possibility to type questions into the chat, and then these will be transferred to our moderator, Chloe. So let me see if Chloe, are you ready?
Yes, I'm right here, Simon.
Chloe's ready. Chloe's going to be moderating the pitch session, the questions, while we go through this. We're going to start in alphabetical order with Susanna from Connecting Food. Let me see, with any luck, Susanna, are you ready?
Yep, I'm here. Samantha is here.
Perfect. So I say let's get this going, and good luck to everyone. Thank you very much.
So hi everyone, I'm Samantha from Connecting Food. First, before I kick off, I just wanted to say a quick thank you both to Bio, to Hello Tomorrow, to Chloe, to Simon, and of course to the wonderful jury for selecting Connecting Food. We're very proud to be here and to share today. So we can jump into the next slide. I think as Raphael was saying, you know, it's not going to be any news to any of you. Oh, is my next slide popping up? There we go. Not going to be news saying that consumers are wanting more transparency. You know, we know today that 1/3 of consumers don't trust the origins of their food. We also know that topics like sustainability are of growing importance for consumers. You know, they really want to know today, post-COVID, where their food came from, how it was made, who made it, does the product that they're purchasing in the store, is it really in alignment with the values that they have and their own personal ethics? Next slide, please. And on the flip side, we also know that governments are implementing more and more traceability legislation. So whether this is in the US with the FDA and the Food Safety Modernization Act, or in the EU with the Green New Deal, agri-food businesses from farm to fork are really being asked to provide more and more information to both their suppliers and to governments. Next slide, please. And so this is where Connecting Food comes in. We are a collaborative business platform, and we work to create value all across the food chain. One, by leveraging existing traceability data to really get that farm to fork traceability. Then we digitally audit that supply chain information so that we can really verify the quality of the data and ensure that the product promises are respected for each and every batch. And then we use blockchain as a trusted third party in order to really ensure that the information remains tamper-proof and to allow for very secure sharing, either with B2B clients or with the final consumer. And next slide. So you might be wondering, how do we go about doing this? We have developed a very simple platform onboarding process where we work with every single actor in the food chain. So starting with the farmers, working through the cooperative, the manufacturer, and all the way through to the retailer, really doing a full mapping of their supply chain and looking at what data exists today, in what format, and how can we capture that data with the end goal of getting rid of all of those information silos. So once we have that data in our platform, we would then standardize it in order to make sure that we can create the digital links with every step of the production process. And then we can go ahead and apply our real-time digital auditing modules to really ensure the quality of the information and the products that we're tracing. The next slide. And then, of course, the great part about that is that you can then really pick and choose parts of that supply chain data to showcase to the end consumer. So those of you at home, you can go ahead and scan the QR code in the bottom left-hand corner, and that should allow you to pull up our web app. But the idea is this gives our brands and our retailers that we work with a really great new tool to communicate with the consumers directly. So everything that you see in bold font on the web app is really dynamic information. And what that means is that it's information that's very specific to the batch of product that they have in their hands. And so they can really pull up and see, oh, this is the farmer that grew the wheat, for example, in my bread. This is where his farm was located. These are the agricultural practices he used. They can see videos and interviews with the farmers, see how the bread was actually made, for example. And the goal is that we're really reinforcing consumer trust in our food systems and in the products that they're purchasing, and providing some really nice storytelling opportunities for both brands and retailers to really showcase all the great things that their suppliers are doing. Next slide. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't share our wonderful Connecting Food community, as we like to call it. You can see at the bottom of the screen that we're very fortunate to be active all across the value chain. We work with some really great cooperatives, farmers and manufacturers. And then, of course, the top of the screen, we're very honored to have had really big global companies like Mondelez, General Mills, Herta, which is part of the Nestle Group, to have them have chosen Connecting Food in order to trace all of their food products in store for the consumers. And next slide. Oh, thanks, Chloe. Of course, now this comes to the best part, is how can we possibly collaborate together? So when I was thinking about this, I was really thinking about one of the biggest challenges today is this first mile data. First mile data is really hard to collect because of the lack of digitalization in those smallholder farmers. They just don't have the tools ready to capture it. But you guys have developed a really great app called FarmRise, which is already installed on a few million smallholder smartphones worldwide. And so my idea is that we would be able to collaborate together and possibly add a few new fields to this app where we could capture some key supply chain information required for traceability, and also for things like sustainability, agricultural practices, fair pay, etc. And then this information can be taken from FarmRise and integrated into the Connecting Food platform to digitally link it together with then the rest of the supply chain data, giving consumers and brands and retailers that full, really end-to-end view on how their products were made. So I know you guys have made some really fantastic commitments towards your small farmers. I really believe a project like this could reinforce Bayer's role. One is a digital enabler, and two, help you meet your 30-30-100 goals while creating a more transparent and an inclusive future for agriculture for all. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to any questions you might have.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for your great pitch. So we're on a tight schedule. We have about 5 minutes questions. I do have a few from the jury. My first one would be, will you please describe your business model? So i.e., how does Connecting Food generate revenue?
Yep, that's a great question. So we have tried to set up a business model that is that enables blockchain to be accessible for all. So we have a business model that's in function of where people sit in the food chain. So, for example, trying to make it affordable for farmers, for manufacturers, for brands and retailers, because we know today that value is, or food chain distribution of value is pretty much focused on the end. And so we're trying to have a business model that reflects where people sit in the value chain. And it's a subscription. So we are a SaaS platform. So it comes in the form of a monthly subscription.
Okay, all right, thank you. My next question is, so you talk about farm to fork, but do you think that maybe consumers would also be interested in what happens on the farm? And so perhaps the journey of the wheat grain from the seed to the harvested grain. Can you provide some insight on that part?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think particularly when it comes to products that are organic, for example, or GM free, things that have different certifications or promises, I think consumers are definitely wanting to go back to the source and the true origins of a product to really ensure, for example, that a product truly is meeting its product promises. So, for example, we're working in the dairy industry quite a bit, and a lot of the milk that we trace is GMO free. So we're going all the way back to the feed mill to ensure that the feed mills are actually providing feed that has been certified and coming from, GMO free seeds or organic seeds, etc.
Okay, thank you, Samantha. Let me see, because we have a lot of questions here. My next question would be, how strong is the interest of retailers in your offer, and do they focus on different aspects than the consumer packaged goods?
I would say it depends on the region. I think Europe is usually typically a bit more ahead when it comes to things like sustainability. So we know, for example, that Tesco's has just recently put out a call in the UK asking all of their brands to work with their suppliers to ensure that they're going to be at least carbon neutral by 2025. And so we're really seeing a push from retailers in Europe more on the sustainability and environmental impact focus. Whereas if you look at in the US, they have a lot of issues with food safety and product recall. So their focus has been more on just pure traceability and being able to get impacted products off the shelves as quick as possible.
Okay, so it does depend on the region. I'm going to stick with the whole different regions. And I have another question regarding the fact that, how do you plan to manage data across countries with the different data regulations that there are?
Yeah, that's a growing topic. I think in one sense we're fortunate in Europe that we've got some very strict privacy laws, and so that's helping us be a bit of a leader in that aspect when we're communicating with people in other regions, because we can apply certain laws that are already active in Europe and that are already built into our platform. But of course, as we continue to move into other markets, we make adaptations depending on the local legislation as well.
Okay, very clear. Thank you. So I have some questions coming from the public and the viewers right now. Thank you. My next question would be, what information can consumers get to switch their choices? So at the beginning, you referenced that 75% would switch, but due to what data and practices?
So I think today consumers are looking at when they're in store, they're trying to, they're basically making their choices off of what they've seen on social media or what's listed on the pack. And of course, in a product pack, you're only able to put a certain amount of information. So the advantage of being able to include a QR code on the pack is that you're really extending the pack and being able to provide the consumer with access to information regarding, product promises, regarding sustainability, regarding, how it was made, that they can really access in store. So we know that, for example, if consumers given the choice between one pack that has very little information and another pack that has quite a bit more information, they're always going to choose the product that provides more information about its promises and how it was made.
Okay, very clear. Perhaps one last question before our time runs out. It's a tricky one. Someone says, as far as I can tell, there are a number of providers on traceability. How does this one stand out from the rest?
So I guess what I can say is the feedback we get from our customers, the reasons people like Mondelez, why General Mills, why Nestle, they've chosen to work with Connecting Food is one for two reasons. First of all, we all come from the food industry. So our founders have a very long history of 40 years combined in working for really big CPG companies and for some upstream cooperatives. So that gave them a really good overview of the challenges that our clients face on a daily basis. And secondly, I would say is our combination of blockchain plus smart modules that help people ensure the quality of their data, because that's one of the biggest things I think that scares people when they're looking at blockchain quality or blockchain implementation is how can I be sure that the data that I'm going to be rendering permanent and immutable is actually accurate? And our combination of blockchain plus real-time digital auditing gives them that confidence then to blockchain their data and share it then either publicly or with B2B partners.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Samantha. Unfortunately, we're taking by the time. We have some other questions, so don't be afraid. They will be forwarded to you after this event. No worries about that. So again, thank you, Samantha. You were presenting Connecting Food. Our next finalist is from ExciPlex. Daryl, are you with us?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So Daryl, as soon as you're up, I can start your timer. Again, 5-minute pitch. I'll tell you when we're at 4 minutes. You can start right now.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Chloe, and thank you to Bayer and Hello Tomorrow for inviting me and putting in the files here. So my name is Daryl Stotness. I'm the founder and CEO of ExciPlex, and we are developing new mycotoxin detection solutions for the grain and livestock industries. Next slide, please. And you'll see that mycotoxins are these small molecule toxins. They're actually produced by fungi that grow on cereal grains. But it's the persistent nature of these toxins that allows them to track through the grain processing and ultimately elicit negative financial effects and contribute to waste and inefficiency all throughout the agricultural community. Unfortunately, existing on-site detection technologies are largely limited to grain receiving. So they operate either at the grain elevator or at the mill. So you're upstream or downstream of this point, you really don't have access to any reliable means of assessing this threat. And this is the traceability aspect that ExciPlex is really built to solve. Next slide, please. We are seeking to develop the solution that's going to operate at every level, while also bringing in the analytical capabilities to put us in a more predictive and proactive paradigm around these mycotoxins. And ultimately ensure that we are keeping them out of our feed and food chains. On the next slide, you'll see the two prongs to our solution. We're developing new diagnostic science, actually developing new assays for this purpose, as well as developing a portable device that will allow these assays to be run in any setting. On the next slide, you'll see the diagnostics, a quick introduction to the diagnostics. We are developing these detector compounds, which are designed to hunt down and associate with any given toxin of interest. And in effect, this forms a new species that has its own unique signals, which we can then detect and even quantify in very complex biological mixtures, such as feed or feed ingredients, even those that are typically not amenable to existing on-site detection technologies. On the next slide, you'll see our portable device tech. It's this smartphone associated design where essentially we have built a proprietary image processing software that allows us to have quite high level spectroscopic capabilities while still being in this nice, small, lightweight, and portable form factor. Now, from the user side, all that really matters is they'll get real-time feedback on the mobile app, regardless of whenever or wherever they are running these assays. They will also have access to the web client dashboard, which will allow them to track analyses over time or across multiple sites in the event of larger corporate customers. And these things are all customizable on a user-by-user basis, so we can tune these into whatever grains or toxins may be of interest. On the next slide, you'll see our competitive advantages. We really see this being built on 4 pillars: speed, simplicity, versatility, and then the data monitoring aspect. The speed and simplicity side, that's the user friendliness aspect. We want this to be as fast and as easy as possible so that it can be run by anyone in any setting. The versatility, as I mentioned, this is being driven by the diagnostic science. We want this test to be able to operate in any feed ingredient, grain, you name it, so that we can really just ensure or leave no doubt as to whether or not these toxins are present in any given substrate. And then on the data monitoring side, back one. The data monitoring side, obviously the real-time feedback on the mobile app is important. That allows for the immediate action to be taken in the event of contamination. But it's these overarching analyses over time and over multiple sites. That's the traceability angle. And I think that's really where the field needs to go if we are truly going to prevent these negative effects that these toxins currently have in our industry. Thank you, Chloe. Last slide. And this actually kind of shows some thoughts on how this might connect with Bayer beyond today. So there's obviously many forms this could take, but one possible option would be a joint development effort on the specific to the portable device. The functional capabilities that we're building into this device really are differentiated from anything that's out there in the portable spectroscopic instrument field. So I think this really opens the doors to a lot of applications even beyond mycotoxin detection, things like monitoring environmental contaminants and others that may very well be of high interest to Bayer. So we'd love to just get those conversations started and see where things go. And then on the last slide, please. Just quickly introduce the other part of my leadership team, my CTO, Chuck Kushi, and there's my contact information, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daryl. Thank you for your pitch. So I do have quite a lot for you. We have about 5 minutes. My first one would be, what kind of mycotoxins can you detect, and what about secondary metabolites?
Yeah, that's a great question. So right now we are still in the R&D phase, so we are still developing that diagnostic science. We have an NSF SBIR grant coming in soon that's going to support that. We've been using ochratoxin A as our model system just because we had a really early hit on that. And we have that down in the 20 part per billion to 50 part per billion range, which is pretty close to commercial relevance. Some of the other toxins are coming along. So in the next year or so, we expect to really be rolling these things out. And in terms of secondary metabolites, that would be referring to the masked mycotoxins. That's one potential. I think this is one area where we can really differentiate ourselves. Theoretically, we can actually detect these in tandem with the free mycotoxins, which is not something that is can be done very easily with the immunoassay-based techniques. So I think the masked mycotoxins, we haven't gotten there yet, but we're very interested in seeing where we can, what advantages we can add with this new diagnostic technique.
Okay, thank you. Very clear. Can your technology only detect toxins on the surface of the sample, so toxins which are solubilized in the ExciPlex matrix, or can it penetrate, for instance, wheat grain and measure beyond the surface?
Definitely beyond the surface, yeah. So we work with ground up samples. We actually, part of our invention is also the buffer system, which we are developing, and that we've already shown, at least with ochratoxin A, that we can achieve extremely high extraction efficiencies. more so than traditional biological buffers. Yeah, we are quite confident that we can get everything out of that sample that's there.
All right. And so what are your thoughts regarding that sample size and preparation to produce a representative result? Your confidence in?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and that varies, I guess, between every possible use case, right? So at the mill, we really just want to come in and stand, not have them have to change their standard operating procedures. That'll still be the, take, a dozen or so cores from the truck and make a composite sample. So in the mill setting, will be similar to what's currently in place. In terms of the on-farm setting, things like working with silages, that is still to be determined. We'll probably be looking at similar composite sample strategy, and so we just got to get into those field assays and test out what that testing frequency needs to be to ensure statistical significance.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm looking at the time and our questions. Another one, you kind of touched base on this, but what value does your technology bring compared to current competitors with mycotoxin test kits?
Yeah, I think again, this slightly depends on the user. At the mill setting, really the speed and simplicity will probably be the competitive advantages that are most directly impact the bottom line in terms of saving on labor costs. I think the data connectivity aspect is also very appealing for larger feed producers that may have many sites or maybe pulling from multiple different countries, multiple different continents. On the farm is quite simply, it's going to be the first thing that any farmer has access to that can test in real time. So that's the clear advantage in that setting.
Okay, thank you very much, Daryl. So I'm looking at the time and I'm afraid that we're running out of it. I can see other questions in the chat. Again, the questions that have not been answered, they will be passed on to you as soon as this event is over. So again, thank you, Daryl. You were presenting ExciPlex. And our next finalists will be Food Bundles and Beatrice. Beatrice, are you with us? Beatrice, I think I cannot hear you.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
All right.
Greetings from Rwanda. My name is Beatrice, and I'll be presenting Food Bundles.
Your time starts now. I'm sorry, that was a little.
Slide.
You have 5 minutes right now.
Thank you. Growing up, I saw my family struggle to make ends meet, yet we produced enough vegetables that could provide us enough income. This is the reality for most communities of smallholder farmers where I live, in communities in the region in sub-Saharan Africa and on the continent. So this is why we started Food Bundles. Food Bundles is a direct farm to market link. Next slide. Often remotely located, smallholder farmers face challenges in post-harvest inefficiency. In fact, up to more than 40% of post-harvest loss is linked to lack to market accessibility, mainly due to poor market linkages and low access to storage facilities. This is mainly because storage facilities are very expensive for smallholder farmers. In addition, smallholder farmers lose up to 50% of income due to the dependence on the many middlemen in the supply chain. The backslide in the supply chain who pose. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We're having some technical issues here. So as soon as you want the next slide to arrive, you just raise your hand. It seems that we have a sound problem. At least at the hub. It's not an issue, just as soon as you want to have this next slide coming in, you can just raise your hand.
Okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Our solution is to digitize the fresh food supply chain right from farms of smallholder farmers and bring affordable nutritive bundles to consumers in cities. This will reduce post-harvest loss from 40% to up to less than 10%, increase farmers' income and reduce costs for consumers, and also create jobs for youth and women. Next slide. So how does the farmer access our solution? I don't know if you can see my hand.
I can. I'm very sorry. We're having some technical difficulties.
I still cannot see the slide. I still can't see.
Can you try to? I'm very sorry.
That's okay. Could I restart the?
So Beatrice says raise your hand. Can you change her slides? Can you change her slides right now?
Well, no. The back slide. Go back.
Go back?
Yes.
I am so sorry about this. Back? Again, very sorry. This is the first time that's happened.
Yes. So how does the farmer access our solution? We built a solution that is built on unstructured supplementary service data, USSD. This is available on feature phones and does not require access to a smartphone or the internet. Also, the content is available in our local language, Kinyarwanda. So the farmer dials *662 number sign, and they're taken to a registry where they can declare their produce in terms of quantity and items. The notification is received by a community-based aggregators who go and check quality of the produce. Once it's confirmed to be of quality, then the farmer gets paid directly on their mobile money. So we are providing a one-stop real-time, free and accessible and user-friendly platform for smallholder farmers to be able to sell their produce. Next slide. The consumers in the city can access our bundles from our website, food.rw. That was too quick. They can access these bundles from our website, also from the USSD application and all food delivery apps. They can pay with mobile money or bank card, and the bundles will be delivered to them for free. Our business model is a pay-as-you-go and subscription model. As we build this sustainable and equitable digital transformation for agriculture, we want to put smallholder farmers at the center of this transformation. So we are calling every stakeholder to help us achieve this mission. We want to provide a market for smallholder farmers, and we're calling for partnerships for people who can pursue the idea for investment and also for research purposes. So specifically for Bayer, we want to partner with you and grow our network of farmers, grow the seed traceability, for example, where Bayer will provide quality seeds to smallholder farmers. We provide them a market, and they will be able to do traceability from the farms of the smallholder farmers to the consumers that we serve. But also, we can also help in input distribution, say for pesticide, insecticide, and others. But obviously, because we are a digital e-commerce that provides a market for smallholder farmers, we can always provide a market to whichever network of farmers. So we are calling on to Bayer and all the others startups that are here to come and join us through this course. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know how best I could help.
Beatrice.
Thank you for being very patient with me. Thanks.
It's on our side. I'm terribly sorry about this. I do have control of the slides now, I think, so it should be all good. Again, very sorry that you were the one on whom it happened. But we did get to hear your entire pitch. Now let's jump to the 5 minutes questions that I have. So as you know, the jury has had your application and they have some questions that they wanted to ask you. My first one would be, do you plan to focus on specific crops or commodities within food bundles?
Yes, right now we are focusing on the fresh food supply chain. It's the most risky, and that is exactly why we're doing it. The reason why is that these smallholder farmers who grow fresh food, fruits and vegetables, are facing the greatest challenges. Yet we cannot build a sustainable food security chain, leaving these smallholder farmers behind. But as we grow further, as we grow with more collaboration, we'll be able maybe later to expand to other types of crops. But yes, for now, fruits and vegetables.
Okay, thank you very much. How do you plan to manage the expansion across countries?
Yes, so we've been thinking very largely about that. First of all, we are now located in Rwanda. We have been studying market trends around the region, around countries with similar demographics with Rwanda, and we have seen that the trends and the challenges that most smallholder farmers here face are almost the same. Of course, there are some that are different depending on the region, but we know that this solution can work, and we'll be expanding very soon into other countries, maybe within 2 years. And so we'll look to partner with already existing initiatives, and also leverage on the other studies have been done, including our own.
All right, thank you. So very ambitious. Now my next question would be, what are your thoughts about working with your farmers to enhance their quality and reliability in what they deliver to the distribution center?
Thank you for the question, and that takes me to exactly the slide that we are all looking at. Prior to implementing this solution, we did what I would say design thinking. We went to communities of smallholder farmers. We spoke to them. We grew up in these communities, but we wanted to hear from their own words of what kind of challenges they are facing, and also to communities of consumers. So right now, as technology advances, we can build all sorts of technology, but if you're not including those at the very bottom of the pyramid, the smallholder farmers, then we're missing a big step in our solutions. So we will know that this solution can easily be adopted because the technology is available on feature phones. Here, at least every farmer has a feature phone. And so if we are building a solution that is inclusive of the smallholder farmers, we know that they will participate. Also, we started very small, but we have grown now to a network of up to 20,000 farmers with only 8 months of operations. So we can see that we're scaling very fast, and the uptake in the communities of consumers is very high. Now, the other part of the question is on traceability, and that's why I talked about this. These farmers grow enough food. The challenge is the market. Now, if we can even give them more ways to be more productive, grow more on less, for example, and provide them a market, because that is the main challenges, then we'll be building a sustainable and more equitable food supply chain.
Okay, thank you, Beatrice. I think you kind of answered it, but what is your biggest technological challenge to create momentum? I'm guessing the whole traceability aspect, or is there anything else?
Yes, so the challenge right now, I would say, is because we are building a technology that is inclusive, but most of these things require lots of data, and data is not something that is always available, and that also other people want to give. So what we are facing right now is that access to data, but as we make more collaborations, we think this will be easier and easier.
Okay, thank you very much, Beatrice. Very clear. I can see that time is going by. I think that this was probably my last question for Food Bundles. Thank you. It was very clear. Thank you again for your pitch, and please forgive us for the technical difficulties that we've had. Beatrice, you were presenting Food Bundles. Our next finalist will be Mike from Index Biosystems. Mike, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, all good. So I think we're all good to go. Slides are up. Can you see your slides?
I can.
Then all good. Then you have 5 minutes to pitch your company. Timing starts now.
First of all, thank you to Bayer and Hello Tomorrow for organizing this important event. At Index, we design next-generation traceability into supply chains. You can think about our patent-pending solution as a microscopic barcode. Instead of a barcode on a package of a seed, our solution allows you to uniquely identify that seed independent of the packaging. If the seed is transferred to another package, its identity is preserved. If you mix biotag seeds together, each of their identities are preserved and even in relative quantities. The index physically embeds the link between the product and its story, despite the supply chain's tendency to erase it. Next. As you know, traditional barcodes have been used to identify products throughout supply chains for decades. However, they were designed for consumer packaged goods. They aren't effective for commodity and high volume manufactured goods. You can't put a barcoded sticker on every seed. You can't put a sticker on a liquid inside a crop protection product. This inability to efficiently track and trace these goods is at the core of international fraud and counterfeiting, food safety risks, and ESG failures. Next. Nature's Code DNA turns out to be the ideal solution for identification and verification. Our pioneering biotags involve bioengineering a customizable, scalable, and unique genetic tag into a common baker's yeast cell. This product is FDA approved and is considered equivalent to baker's yeast. We have US food market access today. Biotags can be applied directly or mixed in trace amounts with any product at any point in the supply chain. Finally, biotags are shelf stable. We chose baker's yeast because one, it's safe, it's durable, and extremely inexpensive to produce. And two, it's a globally ubiquitous ingredient in an organism, and it can be seamlessly integrated into really any supply chain. Next. The biotag manufacturing process is designed to have no effect on the yeast. In other words, we're not modifying the genes of the yeast. We're not introducing genes into the yeast. There is no gene modification. We can create any number of unique biotags, and once registered in our digital registry, they can be associated with really any supply chain data. For example, batches, farms, customers, and certification. Biotags are grown just like any yeast product, and we benefit from a mature global manufacturing ecosystem, and we're currently partnered with one of the world's largest yeast manufacturers. And finally, biotags are not living, they're inactivated, and they do not affect the source product we're adding them to. Next. The biotag can be applied to any product at any point or multiple points in the supply chain. For example, it can be sprayed on row crops in a field. It can be mixed with seed coatings, crop protection products, pharmaceuticals, processed foods, and animal feeds. In our ongoing animal feed trials, biotags have already shown tremendous durability in harsh environmental and processing conditions. Next. Detection can be achieved within 15 minutes to an hour, independent of packaging, in field, or in a lab, using standard PCR. We only need trace amounts of biotag present for detection, and we're talking parts per billion of inclusion. We can even quantify the biotags found in a source product. And what this means is that we can use a biotag as a proxy for determining if and where adulteration has occurred. Detection can be verified against our digital registry, which we call Trailhead, which can be easily integrated with via our API. Next. Considering the broad applicability of this solution, it's always helpful to give some concrete examples. You can use biotags for one, IP protection. So definitively differentiate between stolen and legitimate genetics and formulations without the packaging. Next, you have gray market controls. You now have the ability to achieve enforceable regional pricing differentiations. Quality control, quickly identify the scope of cross-contamination between products at a batch level. ESG, verify identity preservation claims by having a biological marker of authenticity for suppliers.
1 minute.
Biotags are proving to be a truly enabling technology, and we think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. To start, we'd like to work with Bayer on proof of concepts across 2 product categories, crop protection and seed. In particular, we'd like to run experimentation to optimize for inclusion rates and subsequent in-field detection options. Next. Finally, Index is reimagining a more flexible, efficient, and reliable supply chain, and we see clear alignment with Bayer in leading this future. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike, for your presentation. I'm so sorry, I'm getting sound from the live hub.
Yes, is it okay?
Yes, I can hear you. All right, so I'm gonna switch to the Q&A side of things. So we have 5 minutes. I have a few from the jury and some from the viewers are currently popping up. All right, so let me start with, how do you plan to manage data exchanges across countries?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, you said Data exchanges?
Data exchanges across countries.
So our digital registry trailhead would enable kind of seamless data transfer and integration amongst various systems. But when it comes to the actual detection of a biotag, this is done with standard PCR. So it's somewhat of a value add that you don't necessarily need to rely on that sort of one step forward and one step back traceability requirement that is pretty typical of existing traceability solutions. You can have a critical data event within the supply chain biotagged and then subsequent detection of that event occurring downstream without interoperability amongst each supply chain stakeholder.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the biotag, how long is it detectable on seed?
So DNA is incredibly durable, especially when we're leveraging the protective capacity of the yeast cell. So we need to essentially test this out, and this would be part of our efforts with Bayer. But in our early experimentation with an animal feed, which would be considered a much more complex matrix for doing detection, we've had some pretty awesome results in terms of durability.
Okay, and so there's no worries with the durability of the marker on a marked produce if it goes being sprayed, cleaned. Okay.
There would be some loss over time. Okay. However, the shelf life of a lot of these products are not so long that they would be of concern for biotagging.
Okay, great. My other question would be, what technology is used to identify biotags in the lab versus the field?
Yeah, there's a number of options. PCR can actually be used both in lab and in field. As a result of COVID, you're seeing in-field detection kits becoming quite prominent. But these are standard PCR tests. There are some nascent technologies such as CRISPR detection systems as well that enable low cost, low skill detection in the field.
Okay, so I do have a question from the public, but you personally answered it. They were asking, can you detail the field detection option, but also provide an idea of costs of detection and authentication?
Right. So a typical PCR run can cost anywhere from $15 to $45. These CRISPR-based detection systems, although nascent, are showing even cheaper costs. So it's certainly affordable through the entire supply chain.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking at the time. One of our potentially last questions would be, how do you handle legislations when introducing DNA to different legislations?
Right. So our product development strategy has been focused on regulatory impact since the beginning, and we've developed IP that results in an inert bioengineering event. This means that biotags are characteristically identical to baker's yeast. And regulators have so far been very responsive to this approach. The FDA has given us market access in the US in food, and Canada has approved our product for environmental release. Some jurisdictions are more restrictive than others, but we see clear pathways in the major jurisdictions of concern.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mike. I think that we've covered what I have on hand. If we've missed a few, as always, we'll forward them to you by the end of the event. So again, thank you, Mike, for your presentation. You were presenting Index Biosystems. My next speaker and our next finalist is Vincent. Vincent, are you here with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yes, Vincent is right here. That's perfect. So you will be presenting Mvutu. You have 5 minutes to do so, and your time starts now.
I'm very blessed to be here as one of 7 companies to present our solutions. My name is Vincent Durand from Congo Brazzaville. I'm the founder of Mvutu. Next slide, please. Here, my aunt Pauline, a very hardworking, skilled farmer in rural Congo. I'm introducing my aunt Pauline because she reminded me my home story. When I was 7, I moved at the village to help her with aquaculture activities. Every time I saw my aunt ask these questions. What crop I'm going to plant this year? Where can I find high quality input? How would I pay it? And then where I will sell my productivity. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, according to Africa Development Bank, 33 million smallholder farmers across the Congo, Africa continent struggle to find access to market. Despite the existence $35 billion market opportunity in Africa, these farmers struggle to find access to market, input, capital, storage, and scientific message for their product. Next slide, please. Dare to come to Mvutu. Mvutu means in our local language the answer. The answer of my aunt's questions and all the smallholder farmers in Africa. Mvutu is a market access and production management platform that connects farmer produce needs of large buyers by supporting smallholder farmers with input, credit, expertise, and logistics. Next slide, please. Look at our infrastructure. We use data science and demand machine technology to open big markets for the smallholder farms. How do we do this? We collect historical demand data, then we focus on this demand into the future so that we can help smallholder farmers to determine how to produce, when to produce, and for whom to produce. When they produce together, we help them with credit partner, high quality input, logistics. So we can show that smallholder farmers have already markets, and then you can take all the output and sell it directly in our large base. Next slide, please. We want to innovate with biocrop science to create new communication channels about bioseed, traits, and crop protections. The goal is to bring more specific detailed information to each farmers to help them increase productivity and profitability. With Mvutu, we provide digital farming solutions like weather insurance, pest diagnostic, agronomic advice, and crop monitoring. Next slide, please. Biocrop science can be our client and our partner in a long-term research project. Together, we will offer digital farming solutions for smallholder farmers around the world. With our infrastructure data, we can change aquaculture ecosystem and impact more farmers in the world. We need investment to continue to grow, to develop another solutions, and then to deploy our technology in another area in Congo Brazzaville and in the rest of Africa. Next slide, please. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa has over 60% of the world available land. Africa can actually feed the world. In the post-COVID-19, that is the time, and the name to remember is Mvutu, the company that's opened big markets for the smallholder farm. Thank you.
Thank you, Diva. Thank you for your pitch. So I'm stopping the timer, and as for everyone else, we have around 5 minutes of questions. So my first question for you would be, do you plan to focus on specific crops or commodities?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. Now we focus on vegetable and fruit. We use also cereal. So we have a lot of smallholder farmers around the Congo Brazzaville. We meet us to get knowledge, to get our service, but we don't have capacity to get another crop. Now we are focused on fruit and vegetable crops.
Okay, so my next question would have been, what are the main reasons for focusing on organic produce and your means? Do you plan to expand to something else?
That's very important because we can control all the value chain because we provide organics input for the smallholder farm. We can control we bring them technology that permit them to increase their profitability, and then some answer. We use the mobile phone to give them answer and meteo information, and then the organic seeds, because that is the future of the life we have in Africa. Africa can feed the world, but we can educate smallholder farmers to use organic fertilizer and organic seeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Very clear. My next question would be, do the growers have to work exclusively with Mvutu?
Yes, but I'm open to you with Mvutu is the project of my life. So Mvutu means the answer. So we have a lot of small farmers in Congo Brazzaville and around Africa meet the same problem. We have a real problem in Africa, but if we solve problems in Congo Brazzaville, we can duplicate our solution in another region in Africa. So I'm focused on Mvutu. Thank you.
Okay, I understand. So does Mvutu engage in enhancing growing practices of its growers from season to season?
Yes. So we have our platform allowed smallholder farmers to meet directly the buyers. So we have what you call the margin. So we collect information, data information for the buyers. So directly we can connect. The more problems in Africa is access to market. Smallholder farmers don't have information when I will product. So we use data science to permit smallholder farmers to have to predict the sales, so they can have information at that time, at particular time. I can produce mango, pineapple. So they have information, and then all to permit them to sell directly the crop in our platform. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking at the time, and this is probably going to be my last question. What is your tactic to address the business model to each country?
So very simple. When we control all the value chain, we can move our business in another country because we have a partnership with Microfinance Institute, the enterprise that sell input. So we have all the value chains. We can also just now to move another country to create a partner with the company that sell seeds. So we can also just bring our technology. We have our platform, intelligent. We use data science. We have the data from Congo Brazzaville and the rest of Africa, Central Africa countries. We have the same problem, so it is very easy for us to move our technology to Congo and another country in Africa. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Well, Divan, thank you very much for answering my questions. You were presenting Mvutu, and I'll let you leave the stage for our next finalist, which is Keenan, representing Nordetect. Keenan, are you with us?
Yes, Chloe, am I coming through? Hello?
Okay, great. Hi, I can see and hear you. That's perfect. So you have 5 minutes to present Nordetect for us. Your time starts now.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and honestly, going sort of later on in the competition really helps you to get inspired. I've been amazed by what has already been presented, and I hope that we get the chance to connect because it's going to take us all to solve some of the problems that Bayer has put forward. My name is Keenan Pinto, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Nordetect. At Nordetect, we build portable analytical solutions for the agri-food and the environmental market. But our customers fondly call us the blood test for crops, and I'd like to tell you why through my presentation. Next slide, please. So our tagline is quantifying nature, and that's because we believe that nature gives us signals and we just have to be good enough at listening to them in order to perform better at what we do, specifically with agriculture. We're seeing that now sustainability is becoming a bigger issue. We need to produce more with less. We're also seeing that resources that help us produce this are being restricted by supply chain errors, issues. We're also seeing that the earth itself has a limited amount of what it can pump out to allow us to enable agriculture. And more so, consumers care increasingly about where their food comes from and what's inside it. Next slide, please. So what we've done is we've built a proprietary patent-pending platform that combines an analytical device, a microfluidic cartridge, and a data platform. And we use this in various permutations and combinations to develop apps that we put out to the market. Next slide, please. The first app is very close to my heart. I was born and raised in India, and in India we find that a lot of farmers are put in excruciating conditions because of debt that they take to buy inputs. Now, in the West, and also in India and every other country, we're starting to see agronomists take thousands of samples to help build variable rate application maps. And indoor, in the growing trend of indoor agriculture, we're seeing them send samples to labs overnight. All of this to measure how much fertilizer or nutrients they need to feed their crops. Just imagine if you fed a crop only nitrogen. That's the equivalent of eating just carbs, and we know how that ends. Next slide, please. So when we scoped this out, we found that the lab was essentially the bottleneck, and I can hear that from some of the other startups as well. That lab is really the problem because you have to ship, test results, and then recommend the client on what to do. Next slide, please. So what we do is we cut that down to minutes. We allow you to make that test within 2 to 3 minutes. We give you that ability to make that faster decision with the aim of helping you improve your productivity. Next slide, please. The device is like this. It's this big. It fits in your hands. The cartridge is tiny. And what it allows us to do is we can multiplex this. So before it was 1 by 1, now we do them all at once from a single sample. And right now we can do this from soil, water, and plant sap samples. This device can be taken anywhere, and you don't have to worry about internet. It operates without it. It's an easy touchscreen, so you can learn how to use it on the device. Next slide, please. Alongside that, we provide a digital suite that can be customized based on your needs. So whether you're a soil farmer and you're doing it outdoors, we can do that in map format, or whether you're an indoor grower looking at your rows and racks, we can customize it for that. And the smartphone is really a really quick tool to allow you to understand where you took that sample, whether it came from field X down at the end, or whether it came from row Y that's close to you. Next slide, please. The technology we're working on, we call it the 3 C's, the chemistry, the chips, and the capture. And this is what really allows us to multiplex things. The chemistries, we've developed some in-house and some we work with partners on. The chips are all developed in-house, and the computer vision algorithms have been built from scratch. And it's not just fertilizer we're after. We're looking at how we can spread this to other avenues. So going from some seed to spoon, starting with irrigation runoff, where we are right now, looking at crop protection and toxins, and then moving on to food processing with allergens. And we've already been funded by the EU on the allergen side of things. Next slide, please.
1 minute.
To do this, we've built a team with Palak and myself founding the company, but we've surrounded ourselves with experienced individuals that have worked within the industry, but also within core R&D areas. Like Suna and Susan have both worked with assay development of DNA-based assays and immunoassays that form some of the interesting applications we're developing going forward. Luca is at Boy Genius working with data science, and we're really proud of what he can do not only on the device, but also on smartphones. Next slide, please. Why Bayer? We believe that new assays are going to be required for measuring multiplex, potentially crop protection residues, genetic material. We can integrate with existing programs for nutrient use efficiency, but we're also interested in potentially partnering around how Bayer can help us acquire new customers. Thank you for your time. My name is Keenan. I look forward to your questions. Next slide.
Thank you very much, Keenan. That was very clear, and you were presenting Nordetect. So I have a couple of questions for you. We have about 5 minutes.
Sure.
My first one would be, so you did kind of start answering it. What do you plan to measure, and what is the family of detection?
So what we currently do, our first application to market is for nutrients. At present, we can do sort of the macronutrients to specify nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, and magnesium. This is what we're releasing as our macronutrient test. But essentially, if the customer-specific test would really be based off of what is required on the target side of things.
Okay. I have a question coming from the viewers. Is the instrument and method validated in relation to any international standards, such as the ISO?
Pardon, what was the last word?
The ISO depends on.
Typically, we seek to validate based off of what the local method is. So our strategy is to, if we enter a new region, we understand who the authority is in the region and what their validation requirements are, and then we validate against that. So in Denmark, where we're founded, that would be typically Eurofins is sort of the gold standard for that, so we would validate against them, and that's what the customers are using here. But it really depends, because region to region, they may have different requirements, so we look to satisfy the local requirements. There's no global standard as such for this particular nutrient testing, so it's not an ISO per se.
Okay, thank you. Maybe a question that's a little bit specific regarding the potential expansion to test organic substances such as aflatoxin. I hope I'm saying that right. At trace level, what are your thoughts about the sample preparation to have a representative sample?
Again, I'm going to echo what was said before. this is really dependent on the use case. So when it comes to the grain elevators, it would be based off of their existing process. We try as much as we can, even with the nutrient test, to drop into what's already being done. So ideally, where we would add value is that the test is typically faster. So rather than waiting maybe 5 minutes, you're waiting 2. And at a grain elevator, that gives you a lot of time to potentially parallelize some of the work that you're doing. So we try as much as we can not to rock the boat and slide into existing processes for extractions and sample prep.
Okay, very clear. Thank you. What are the biggest hurdles for expansion of your technology to the analysis of organic chemicals?
I think that in general, the production is difficult, but that's really what we've been funded to solve at the moment, and that's what we are solving. But when it comes to organics, it depends on the assay. I think that what we would go for is multiplex. So if you're looking for organic molecules, if a commercial antibody already exists, that makes things easier. If you have to develop an antibody, that takes time. But really, it's sort of the recognition molecule development that would be the rate limiting factor in new potential tests.
Okay, thank you. I can see that I see time flying. Perhaps one last question that I see from a viewer, it would be, how long does it take to develop a new chip or test the system?
We get better at this. So typically it could take anywhere from a year to 3 months, depending on, as I said, if the recognition molecule is present and commercially available or not. So a year would typically be if it's something that is extremely hard and potentially impossible with some antibodies, for example, it would take longer, but that's because of the recognition molecule development. On our side, we would say 3 months to get a proof of concept, then to put it out into pilots and get validation. It could be achieved within a year. It's been done, but roughly in that ballpark, 3 months to a year.
Okay, thank you, very clear. I think with the timing, I think that we're going to be all good. That was my last question for you, Keenan. Thank you again for your presentation. You were representing Nordetect. Our next and final finalist for the day is Marianne representing TrusTrace. Marianne, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chloe, and thank you, Bayer and Simon, and hello tomorrow for inviting us. And I can only illustrate again, fantastic pictures, and I'm honored to be able to be part of this. So waiting for my presentation. Right, so my name is Marianne, and I'm responsible for the sustainability and the food part of TrusTrace. At TrusTrace, we are a one-stop platform for sustainable supply chains. And what we originally started in the fashion industry, and since last year, we've moved into the food industry. Next slide, please. What exactly do we do? So please do scan the QR code. I know you've done this before, so you know how to do it. So you will see exactly what we do. We are basically answering the consumer question of what product should I buy if I'm concerned about the environment. So it's really, we're collecting a lot of different data points from different suppliers and are providing these different informations to consumers to be able to make an informed decision about the environmental impact of the product. Next slide, please. We've heard a lot of trends already, but it's really about 9 out of 10 consumers consider sustainability when buying, and over 60%, especially of the younger ones, are paying more for sustainable products. And this also increases the sales for retailer. So next slide, please. So what we're focusing on is to provide a scoring or a methodology output to consumers. We're collecting the data behind that, and we're doing a sustainable retailing product. So for retailers to be able to, on the entire portfolio, give out a sustainability scoring. You see some different methodologies here, and I'm not going to go into the detail, but it's there's no standard developed yet. But it's all the different retailers that are jumping on board. So you will see Carrefour, Lidl, Colruyt, Coop, Marks and Spencer, Sainsbury's. They're all starting to adapt to different eco scoring for the entire portfolio to give consumers this sustainability parameter as a decision factor. And we are the platform behind that. So next slide, please. So what exactly do we do? We're an enterprise platform. We're able to do this on a large scale. So instead of going down to a farm level for traceability, we do this on a more shallow data collection, but on an entire portfolio. So we connect with different internal systems such as PIM, ERP systems, and take out product data. We have supplier information, so we're connecting directly, we're integrating with suppliers, taking out different information with regards to the ingredients, country of manufacturing, different labels. We're connecting this data with data sets such as the WWF and RISE and different other databases, and using different algorithms to be able to have an output such as the eco score or sustainability declaration, which we then provide to the customer in different forms. So it's this data collection that we're focusing on. Next slide, please. At TrusTrace, as I mentioned before, we started in the fashion industry, and we've now since last year moved into the food industry. And what is very astonishing, or is a big point for us at, in the food side, is that with just one customer, we can get as many as 300, 400 suppliers into our platform to be able to give information about the different products. Next slide, please.
1 minute.
Okay. So we know from the fashion side that partnerships are essential, and we have different ways of partnerships with different enterprise software and different ecosystem partners. We've grown and have achieved quite a bit on the fashion side, but as I said, on the food side, we're quite new. So that, next slide, please. So that's what we see the partnership with Bayer in this journey is really to help us to further. Our product right now is not completely mature, so really to increase that matureness of the product together and to go deeper into the value chain. And we're hoping that with Bayer we can be part of the infrastructure and the network, and to boost that development, to really give the consumers and the retailer this hygiene factor. We're hoping that we can together identify common interest and then to optimize the current product that we have. So, and then ultimately we see hopefully a solution partner within Bayer. Next slide. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marianne. Thank you for your pitch. So we have a few questions for you. I'd like to start, you touched base on it in one of your slides. How are your sustainability metrics calculated, and what data are needed as input?
Yeah, it's a bit different. It's a very good question. It's a bit different to the methodology or the output that we want to achieve. So let me take an example for the sustainability declaration that we've launched with Coop here in Sweden. We collecting data from the suppliers such as country of origin, we're collecting country of manufacturing, we're collecting all the different labels such as organic and all the very specific country-specific labels. And then the calculation is based on that. With regards to on CO2, we use RISE database. On biodiversity, we use the WWF. So we have different databases there as well.
Okay, thank you. Very clear. My next question was also asked to connecting food, and that would be, you talk about farm to fork. Do you think that consumers would also be interested in what happens on the farm? And for instance, this example would be the journey of wheat from seed to harvested grain.
Yes, in fashion, we do farm to fork or farm to shirt. On the food side, we wanted a more scalable product because the food product is very, very different. So each supply chain is very different. We wanted a product that we can launch across a very large portfolio. That's why right now we're going on a tier 1 level and collecting more shallow data, but being able to transmit that a comparable scoring to the consumer on all products, which is at this point in time very, very challenging if you're going down to a farm level.
All right. And would that be perhaps one of your aspirations for TrusTrace in the future?
Absolutely. So, of course, if we can go with our entire portfolio. So with Coop, for example, we have 30,000 products and over 250 suppliers in the platform. So this is, of course, we want to go down to farm level, but it's a bit of a challenge. So we're going step by step. Right now, we're on tier 1 level.
Okay, thank you. My next question would be, so keeping with different steps of the value of the supply chain, what are your thoughts about leveraging your approach for fresh produce, such as tomatoes or apples?
I'm sorry, I didn't really hear. What? Can you repeat the question?
I'm sorry. What are your thoughts about leveraging your approach for fresh produce?
We don't make a difference between fresh produce and non-fresh produce. We're using that's what I was saying. We do it across the entire food portfolio of a retailer. So regardless if it's a fresh product, if it's meat, if it's grains, if it's tomato, it doesn't matter. And that's why we're going not as granular. We're not going to a farm level yet, because we can do it that way to be able to give that comparison on the entire portfolio for a consumer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the position. I can see some questions from the viewers popping up, so it's it. How will you introduce that was too quick for me. How will you introduce in your automatic rating some considerations on local cultural practices? So for instance, it was deleted, but I could read, there was some questions about foie gras in France. Yeah. Are you thinking about those types of sustainability aspects regarding the local cultures?
The local culture as that wouldn't be, I mean, from a pure environmental perspective, foie gras would not score very high. It's we're looking at a pure environmental and social aspects, and certain foods will not score well there, although it might be a cultural food. Having said that, we do take into consideration the local kind of labeling, we even take into consideration if suppliers are using some special schemes, such as, let's say, solar panels on their farms or something. This is something that we do take into consideration, and data that we also collecting.
Okay, very clear. Thank you very much. I can see the time going, so that would probably be my last question. What would be the uniqueness of TrusTrace versus existing blockchain models?
As I was explaining, we're going down to a very, very deep level with including blockchain on the fashion side. We've looked at that on the food side, and we have decided that right now, for us, the approach was better to do that on a large portfolio, being able to give data to the retailer, to the consumer on the entire portfolio, and maybe not go as granular. And that's the differentiation. And ultimately, we want to go further down, but we believe let's start with a shallow data collection, but for a large portfolio, to give that comparison, to make that data usable for a consumer, and to give retailers and consumer the opportunity to make a conscious decision and be able to improve their environmental impact. And then hopefully we will go further down the value chain or the supply chain and be able to go to that level. And then we will use blockchain as we do on the fashion side as well.
Okay, well, that's perfect. Thank you for your answers. Thank you for your time. Marianne, you were presenting TrusTrace.
Thank you.
This wraps up our pitching session. So thank you to all our participants. I think that I will give back the mic to Simon in Lyon. Simon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, everyone, for the great pitches. Big thanks from me. Big thanks from the pitchfork. I don't know, Arne, if we can zoom in on the pitchfork. This is when it gets exciting. So the first message I've got from here, and without reading from the slide, I think the first thing I'll do is I'll thank everyone for their pitches. I'll thank Samantha from Connecting Food, fantastic. I'll thank Daryl from ExciPlex, Beatrice from Food Bundles, Mike from Index Biosystems, Divan, fantastic, from Mvutu, and Keenan from Nordetect, and finally Marianne, well done, and thank you as well to you from TrusTrace. By now you've probably read the slide, so it's your turn to move. Get your iPhones out, scan the QR code. Somebody's also going to put the link and the code into the chat. So once this slide moves on, which it won't do for a couple of minutes yet, no, stay there, Vincent. When this slide moves on, you'll still have a chance. The voting will remain open for 20 minutes. So with that said, I love live events because you never know what's going to happen, and it gives me an opportunity to thank the tech teams here in Lyon, Philippe and Arnaud on my left, and all the mics and the rest of the tech teams in St. Louis. Thank you for getting the live stream back up and running. I was worrying for a little second there, but we managed to work through it. So big thanks to all of you on the technical side. So what's going to happen now? I've just before the end of Marianne's pitch, I walked Raphael into his judges' deliberation room, and he's now online with the 5 other judges, 6 including Raphael. They're going through their notes feverishly. I can see sweat and smoke already coming from the room, so it's going to be quite exciting. They have 20 minutes to come to a conclusion. There's 20 minutes for your voting, and which will announce that both live in about 20 minutes time. And whilst that's happening, whilst you're scanning the code, whilst you're voting for your favorite pitch, we're going to get Vincent on the stage in a couple of seconds to talk a little bit about Hello Tomorrow, about what they do. And then we're going to get Phil after Vincent. Phil's going to talk a little bit about biocrop science and open innovation at biocrop science. So with that, I'm going to move straight over to Vincent, who should be ready to introduce to you Hello Tomorrow. Merci, Vincent.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Simon, and the whole Buyers team for having us again this year at Life Hub of Biocrop Science. Thank you, Chloe, as well, our Hello Tomorrow project lead. Yes, of course, on this challenge, dealing with the questions, selecting and asking them to you. And of course, thank you very much to the 7 finalists for the amazing pitch. And I have to say that it is really inspiring and humbling, actually, to witness such quality teams really focused on important concrete solutions. So thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you already. I am confident, by the way, that this challenge will lead to really beneficial collaborations and value creation here. So I'm Vincent Durand, and I'm the head of startup corporate programs at Hello Tomorrow. And if you allow me, I'll present you Hello Tomorrow during the jury's deliberation before Phil. Our mission at Hello Tomorrow is to, as we say, unlock the power, or at least the potential of deep tech to solve our toughest global challenges. We believe at Hello Tomorrow that there's a need for radical transformation in the way we eat, move, power, run our industries, and that this transformation will be supported by several waves of technologies that we refer to as deep tech. One definition of deep tech that you can find here on this slide is that it implies innovation built around unique, hard to reproduce, protected technological or scientific advances. Confident that the next big thing will come from deep tech, we help innovations go out of the lab. We create opportunities by bridging the gap, by bringing together the whole ecosystem, the global community of startups, corporates, investors, and key enablers around specific high-value project opportunities. And indeed, to unlock the full potential of this deep tech, it needs an ecosystem, it needs a community. And in such fragmented landscapes, collaborations are really becoming critical. That requires efforts from many stakeholders that you can see here on this slide, on this graph. At Hello Tomorrow, we have 4 main activities to make this happen. First, we scout the best deep tech solutions in the world by organizing challenges such as this one, our annual global challenge. Then we connect key stakeholders, the ones you saw on the graph before, but through global conferences, and events offline and online. Our annual flagship event is called the Global Summit, and I will present it in a minute. And building on these 2 important pillars, the scouting and the connecting, we identify and analyze every year innovation trends and dynamics and issue several reports with some of our partners. And finally, what we do with Chloe every day, we support corporations, companies with consulting services. We help them explore deep tech, understand deep tech, source solutions, and also accelerate their collaborations with startups. And we are not doing this alone, definitely not. This is really an immense pleasure to partner with companies such as Biocrop Science, organizing challenges and inspiring webinars together, having them on our side for 2 years now for the Global Challenge and also our annual event, the Global Summit. The How Tomorrow Network, if you don't know already, today has deep roots in all major innovation hubs in the world. It consists of more than 6,000 deep tech startups, so basically the best applicants to our global competitions, hundreds of companies and investors, but also 250 ecosystem partners, such as incubators, research centers, or universities. And this strong and vibrant network is one of our key assets at Hello Tomorrow, and allowing us today to power tailor-made challenges such as this one. There are many reasons to run a startup challenge, a dedicated challenge for a company. It could be to boost their R&D, to improve their offers. It could be to buy off-the-shelf solutions or co-develop products. And we've been doing this for many years and with many companies now. And in 2020, with Biocrop Science, we looked for solutions to shape the future of agriculture, and in particular, crop pest early identification and in silico toxicology to assess the product safety of their product. And this year, as Simon says, we focus more on the future of food, and we're really happy to be part of that. I mentioned the Global Summit a few slides ago, a few times. This is our main event. This is a physical event organized by Hello Tomorrow, bringing together the key stakeholders with which we build stuff. We help deep tech going out of the lab. So on December 2nd and 3rd in Paris, the Global Summit with, again, spotlight inspiring fireside chats with experts, also visionary keynotes and pitches from researchers and industry leaders, and as well as entrepreneurs. And this is really a way to meet, to connect, to build relationships, to discuss. And this event really has to be seen as one powerful catalyst, a neighbor of these deep tech ecosystems. You'll find there 3 main stages. You'll find inspiration on the frontier stage. You'll find deep tech solutions on the pioneer stage. And you even find a practical entrepreneurial toolbox on the Deep Tech Academy, as well as showcase and meeting spaces. And I'll now put down my mic for 2.5 minutes to let you enjoy a teaser of the Hello Tomorrow Global Summit from 2021. So we can launch the video whenever now.
The decisions we make now about cities, their technologies will be with us for not just decades, but hundreds or even thousands of years.
Congestion is at an all-time high, and it's not getting any better, and it requires a new solution.
The adoption of new materials is extremely inefficient.
What hope do we have that anybody is going to be making good decisions about these technologies?
We have to really fundamentally change the way that we're growing food.
In 2050, there will be more plastics than fish in the oceans. We chose to build our modern society on energy from fossil fuels. In hindsight, maybe that wasn't a good thing.
Do we want to be treating disease or restoring health?
Become a choice between life or death due to a bacterial infection that has become completely resistant to all the antibiotics. This sounds really dark and dystopian, but this is the reality that we live in today.
We live in a world of massive challenges, and we have to overcome them. We have to find the new opportunities. We have to create this future we all want to create together.
Yes, indeed, I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, join us. I hope you are as excited as we are with Chloe and with Bio's team, with Simon, with Raphael, with Phil, about this new edition of the Global Summit. And this year, as you can see now on this slide, it will focus on 5 main topics. The first day will address regenerative industries and sustainable materials. We'll address as well the energy transition topics, and the last topic from December 2nd will be sustainable food system, and I'm pretty sure that most of you would be very interested about these topic, these keynotes and fireside chats on how we can minimize our impact on the biosphere, keeping in mind the challenges ahead. On December 3rd, we'll talk about the healthcare revolutions. We'll talk about smart mobility. We'll talk about cities facing the climate crisis and even space travel. So that's it for me. I would like to thank you again very much for your attention. Thank you to Bio's team. Congratulations to the 7 finalists. And of course, thank you to Bio as a company partnering with us and making us a key partner of their open innovation initiatives and strategy. And speaking of which, I'll leave the mic now to Phil. So Phil, you now have the mic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vincent, and great to see you and great to be with the team in Lyon and all around the world today. Yes, good afternoon, good morning, everybody from my side. Phil Taylor here, also part of the Open Innovation team, along with Raphael and Simon and many others. And it's my pleasure today to not only add my congratulations to our finalists and to our eventual winner, but to just tell you a little bit about how we think about open innovation within the crop science R&D organization, and how we're really looking to use our approach to open innovation and our approach to partnering to really drive innovation and drive the next sort of revolution in agriculture, which I think, as we talked about on numerous occasions this morning, needs innovation and needs change and evolution as we go forward. You've seen this slide already this morning. I guess I didn't catch that redundancy when we were putting this together, but I think it's no surprise to anyone on the call that there is both need and pressure on our agricultural systems, and thinking about them from a number of different perspectives and a number of different angles that are new and novel and exciting, is what's absolutely critical for the future of agriculture. And so as we gather today, we're having conversations about traceability and detection and activities that never had really been a key part of the agricultural innovation conversation before, and now really are at the forefront. So very exciting to see that evolution and that development. Another angle to this it really is that at Bayer, we're taking our approach to moving agriculture towards a sort of carbon zero and inclusive future very, very seriously. And what's called out on the slide here are the very significant sustainability commitments that we as a crop science division made about a year or so ago to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that are part of agriculture, to reduce the environmental impact of the crop protection that's involved in agriculture, and to really change the game when it comes to how we're engaging smallholder farmers around the world. It's sort of the great myth of agriculture that it's all ginormous farms in different parts of North and South America, but when you really look at it at a global scale, it's really the smallholders that need the most innovation and need the most opportunities to improve their productivity and their outputs. And so it's been really interesting. I actually was thinking about the fact that it's about a year since we had our last event with Hello Tomorrow, how really our conversation, even within our organization, has changed, moving from innovation, but thinking about sustainability, to really driving sustainable innovation and sort of almost flipping those around on their head. So what does this mean for us as an external partnering and an open innovation organization? If you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. We're very clear and very transparent about the fact that we know that the ambitious goals that we have and the ambitious aspiration that we believe is necessary for agriculture, that we can't do it by ourselves. And that we need to partner as extensively as we can across industries, across sectors, whether it's academic or startups or accelerators, you name it. There is ideas and opportunities out there that we think we're well positioned to connect and to partner and help move forward. And so really this has two perspectives for me that I'd like to share with you. If you jump to the next slide, please. One is really how we think about that from a open model for partnerships and for interactions. And what's called out here is the fact that, we think about that open innovation model both in the context of incremental innovation, so things that we need year on year to continue to advance the pipeline, but also helping position us for disruptive innovation and those disruptive technologies that Vincent talked about so nicely as Hello Tomorrow's focus, that really have the potential to change the game about how we do our research, change the game about our products. But that we have a number of different vehicles for leveraging that. We take a very sort of almost boutique approach to our partnering and don't say this is how we partner, ABC. We look to create those win-win scenarios with all of our partners to create the right structure, the right environment, the right framework for both Bayer and our partners to flourish. Some examples called out on the slide here across, just straight up collaborations and partnerships, licenses, through to our venture capital arm. Leaps by Bayer is the venture arm of the group, where we're both investing in and creating new companies when need and opportunity arises, but also that we take an approach of executing research for our customers, customer-sponsored research, or developing strategic partnerships with universities and institutes around the world to help us be positioned and to help us support great breakthroughs when they happen. The other sort of aspect to this, which is a little more where I spend my time, if we could jump to the next slide, is really how we want to evolve how we think about open innovation and how we think about the types of activities and the types of interactions that we can facilitate for not only our existing partners, but our potential future partners down the road. So obviously we're thrilled to continue the partnership with Hello Tomorrow that's led to the event that you're participating in today, but we have a number of different programs, be they with financial support, be they interactions, be they actually opening up Bayer's capabilities to create data and do testing for our partners that allow us to sort of think about our open innovation approach in these sort of three buckets. RFPs that put our needs and our ideas out there for people to respond to. More formal challenges like this one, where we take a particular topic and say, okay, let's really deep dive into a particular area of either current or future focus for the organization. And then we've also been very focused this year on how we build our ecosystem around the world, whether that's through our life hubs, where I'm sad I'm not with the team in Lyon today, but they're all there having a good time running this event for you, but also how we think about our networking events and our social media presence and our key memberships around the world. So between these sort of three approaches, our goal and our aspiration is to create a framework where no matter what the need, no matter what the partnership type, we're well positioned to create those win-win scenarios to work with partners around the globe to advance our pretty ambitious and aggressive goals. So maybe the last thing for me before I turn it back to Simon with the final slide is to give you my thanks for joining the call today, both our presenters, thank you so much, and our audience. But please follow along. We're on a journey to understand how we can use partnering and innovation to sort of change the face of agriculture. So this doesn't end today. So please follow along on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to connect. I know Simon is too, and we'd love to hear from you and talk to you some more. So with that, Simon, I hope the smoke coming out of the judges' room is the right color, and we may have us a winner.
Thank you, Phil. What color should the smoke be?
I can't remember. It's black or white, isn't it? I don't. One of them is good, one of them is bad.
It's definitely still grey. So Raphael is actually feverishly writing, and he's still, he's waving his hands around. But that gives me an opportunity to thank you for your great presentation, talking about what we do, and to reiterate what you said is connect with us. We love doing this. I met Phil about a year and a half ago when I joined the department, and we get along like a house on fire. In fact, it's been a year and a half and we've never actually met each other physically, Phil. So hopefully at some point in time in the future, we'll be able to go to Paris together and drink that famous beer in Paris.
Whenever you're ready. Whenever the world is ready.
Okay, so the smoke is changing color. Now let's see what happens now. Let's see if I can't get the guys in St. Louis to give us a drum roll. I don't know if we can do that. Mike, if you can get us a drum roll going. Let's try and build up some tension here. There we go. There we go, that's great. So I'm going to ask Raphael to come down here. I'm going to ask Raphael to get his mic and then come to the front of the stage. Thanks for the drum roll, St. Louis. And we're going to try a couple of things live. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you live the people's choice, so who was chosen from the Mentimeter. And if technology lets us work, you can see that happening, and you will see live on the screen. So news to Raphael, I couldn't brief him before. TrusTrace came out top on the Mentimeter with just under half of the vote. So from myself, a big round of applause to TrusTrace. Congratulations. Great job on the people's choice. Now, I actually don't know what Raphael's got written on his paper, so we're going to find out again live. Raphael's now going to introduce, and we're going to try and get a drum roll going again, if we can, on the next slide. And I need to just go back to the presentation, so forgive me for that. And there we go. And then Raphael's going to now announce the winner from the judge's choice.
So thanks, Simon, and we must discuss after the pitch, because 20 minutes to select the winner with such event is just a nightmare. I mean, the pitches were all so good, and we were 6 in the judging panel, and I can tell you that it was more than hard. So it was a nice exercise, but next time we need more time, that's for sure. Now, but nevertheless, joke aside, thanks to Martina, Adrian, Brian, Kelly, and Gerhard helping me to select the winner. I mean, it has been a tremendous journey, and the pitches were all very, very excellent. So thanks a lot to all of you. It was really appreciated. First of all, before providing to you the name of the winner, I just would like to share that we have different categories of activities and different criteria for selection of the winner. We want to take into account, of course, the technological innovation. That is certainly an interesting element from a selection of winner for such event. We took into account as well the sustainability dimension. That is something that is core for what we are doing in Bayer as well. We need to take into account as well the supply chain dimension. I mentioned to you in the introduction the supply disruption for all the food chain industry and the planet. We took into account, of course, the financial model and naturally what we are doing already in Bayer and how it could complement to what we are already doing internally. So, to be clear, it was really, really difficult. First of all, and again, without waiting too long, I just would like as well to underline that there are different clusters of pitches that we identify. The first one is we have activities linked to diagnosis. It's clear we have activities mixing diagnosis and supply chain. We have there are proposals linked to traceability. There are proposals linking the digital with the innovation in terms of detection tools. And we have, of course, the smallholder aspect and component with different pitches as well. So finally, to make your life even more difficult, Simon, we decided with the judges to do not have one winner, but to have 2 winners, right? So we took the freedom. We said we need to innovate, so we decided to innovate for the pitches, for the outcome of this event, Simon. Now, the reason is very simple, is that there are activities in the farm and there are activities beyond the farm. So we thought that we want to take into account the holistic situation for the farmer, for the economy, for the planet. So and the activities of the farmers are not stopping, let's say, in the farm. So we wanted to do this recognition of on the farm and beyond the farm. And from our point of view, the 2 winners are connecting food for the activities beyond the farm, because I think it's a nice link between the different supply changes, detection tools, blockchain issues, and so on. So traceability. So congratulations to connecting food. And the second one in Nordetect, because it's linked to on-the-farm activities in the same spirit, linking the technological innovation, linking as well the changes of fertilizer in the farm, the sustainability component for those for this fertilizer dimension that the farmer needs to manage. So these are the 2 winners that we identify with the judging panel. But the message we all agreed to provide is that frankly, the 7 pitches were excellent. And there are different dimensions that are driving our different initiative in Bayer Crop Science. And some of our colleagues will certainly reach you as well to follow up with all of you, because at the end, there are interesting ideas in each of those pitches. So maybe I stop here. I don't know in terms of time how long I have, but just would like again to congratulate you on behalf of the entire judging panel. It was really a pleasure to do this event. I mean, the ideas are fantastic. The way we want to integrate all those innovation into Bayer is here. I mean, we have the tools in hands now. And last but not least, a big thank you to all of you for your efforts and your presentation today. It was highly appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you, Raphael. So congratulations, and thank you for the gift, Raphael. Congratulations to TrusTrace for the People's Choice. Congratulations to Connecting Food and to Nordetect. You've really wooed and wowed the judges with your technology. And as Raphael said, the next steps here is we'll be reaching out to you to start having more conversations and exploring possibilities on how we can partner with you. Congratulations and thank you to everyone here in Lyon. Thank you on the teams. Thank you to everyone that participated. Thank you for your time, and it's been a great event. I'm really happy, we're really happy, and looking forward to doing this again at some point in the near future. So thank you from my side. I've been Simon Maechling, and we've been from the Life Hub Lyon. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.